Kids across the state are back in the classroom this afternoon, and thousands of them started the new school year the same as the last, with a face covering. Mask mandates are in effect for at least 60 districts and charter schools here in Arkansas. That's close to half of the state's public school population. But districts like the Little Rock School District aren't just relying on the masks to keep staff and students safe.
You know, we got the mask mandate, but we also have we're going to be doing on-site testing. Then we also are going to be continue to offer vaccination clinics. And then we also are going to try our best to maximize from large gathering inside the breakfast and cafeteria. We're going to continue to do the same measurements we did last year by extending classrooms. Students will be able to eat inside the classroom, just trying to minimize the large gatherings.
We have a full list with all the school's decisions on masks at thv-at-noon.com. Or you can text the word masks to 501-376-1111 and we'll send a link straight to your phone. And remember, THV11 is your back to school central. We have team coverage working to bring you the very latest on the first day of school in Arkansas. We're going to have more tonight on THV11 News at 5 and 6. And the first day of school comes after a weekend of relatively good news in Arkansas's fight against the COVID surge. We saw a slight drop in cases and hospitalizations. As you can see here, 3,634 cases reported over the last 2 days. That is down 9% compared to last weekend's numbers. And then there's the number everyone is watching very closely, hospitalizations. Over the weekend, we saw that number drop by 45. And while these are both positive to see, it is worth noting the number of patients needing serious care continues to go up. Right now, there are 303 COVID patients relying on a ventilator to breathe. There is some good news, though, to report. More and more Arkansans are getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Over the weekend, close to 21,000 doses of vaccine were administered across the state. There are now more than 1.1 million Arkansans who are fully vaccinated against the virus, and another 351,000 are still waiting for their second dose. With booster shots now approved for people with weakened immune systems, several pharmacies are already taking appointments for those who are immunocompromised. Kavanaugh Pharmacy, Pharmacy at Wellington, UAMS, CVS, and Walgreens all offering third doses. Now, a few things to keep in mind, though. The booster can only be given at least 4 weeks after getting the second dose and should be the same brand as the previous shots. People are encouraged to call and make an appointment, and be sure to bring your vaccination card. And while the majority of cases of people who are COVID-19 positive in the U.S. are unvaccinated, we are getting a lot of questions about people who get COVID after receiving a vaccine. They're called breakthrough cases. And while getting the virus after getting your shot isn't ideal, research shows it is extremely rare for those cases to lead to hospitalizations or death. David Begnaud takes a closer look for us.
Tara Mosley read to us what would be some of her daughter's final words.
My lungs are clogged up with mucus and blood.
Angel battled COVID and pneumonia in a New Orleans hospital. Her mother was only allowed to see her very briefly.
I prayed with her, and I had to show her that, we love her.
That same day, July 25th, Angel died. She was 33 years old. When Angel initially told her mother and her sister that she had tested positive for COVID, she said that she was vaccinated. Breakthrough cases make up less than 1% of all the COVID cases. Of the more than 168 million Americans who have been fully vaccinated, around 8,000 have been hospitalized or died of COVID, and that is about 0.005%. There will be people who watch this story who say she got vaccinated and she died.
I would still say to them, still be vaccinated, because her weight played a lot in it.
Did the doctor ever speak to you about her weight and that being a factor?
He says, Ben says she's a large person. Her heart could not pump like it should have been pumping.
The CDC says that people with certain comorbidities are more at risk for having severe symptoms of COVID-19, which among them are obesity, chronic kidney and heart disease, asthma, and cancer. CBS News medical contributor Dr. David Agus says that vaccines are stopping people from getting seriously ill, and that nearly everyone who has died after being vaccinated has had some type of serious underlying medical condition.
While the vaccines may give you some protection, it's not enough to overcome the medical issues or the lack of a very strong immune system, unfortunately.
That's a beautiful color, too. Angel was a budding entrepreneur. She owned Brave Boutique in New Orleans, which is a store that specializes in clothes for plus-size women. If she were here right now, what would she want you to say?
keep her business going because that was hers, that was her baby. I know she really wanted the people to know to actually to be vaccinated, to still mask up.
The leading health officer here in Louisiana said just last Friday that 100 people had died here in the Bayou State after being fully vaccinated, 23 within the last week. But he said the median age of those breakthrough infections is 74 years old. And the vast majority of those people all had pretty severe underlying conditions. David Begnaud, CBS News, Lafayette, Louisiana.
The U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan is now closed, but officials are still trying to determine how many Americans are in the country. One administration official called the situation at Kabul airport, where the evacuation effort continues, quote, tenuous. This comes as President Biden is receiving bipartisan criticism from lawmakers over his handling of the U.S. withdrawal. Natalie Brand has the latest from the White House.
The U.S. military is working to secure the airport in Kabul as it is in the final days of evacuating Americans out of Afghanistan.
We have actually been working to evacuate thousands and thousands of Americans over time. Now it's about determining who is left and who didn't heed those warnings along the way.
Administration officials acknowledge they were surprised by the speed with which Afghanistan fell.
It was not an inevitability, it was a possibility. The speed was at the very fast end. It was not something we expected to go that quickly.
The White House says President Biden will be returning from Camp David this afternoon to make remarks on the developing situation in Afghanistan. Administration officials briefed House congressional members Sunday, saying it is a volatile situation that is changing rapidly. Democratic Congressman Jason Crow, who served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan, remains concerned.
Since the day the president made the announcement of the withdrawal, there have been a group of us in Congress that formed the Honoring Our Promises Working Group. We've been banging the drums, yelling, talking to anybody who will listen to us, saying, start the evacuation now.
Republicans have criticized President Biden's handling of Afghanistan, but the plan to draw down forces began under the previous administration.
We had the agreement that was signed in the Trump administration that began this process of helping to strengthen the Taliban. But ultimately, this decision to completely and totally withdraw is Joe Biden's, and it is one that is disgraceful.
Administration officials say President Biden remains opposed to keeping U.S. forces in Afghanistan for a 3rd decade of war. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
President Biden is expected to address the ongoing situation in Afghanistan this afternoon. We'll have coverage of that on air and online at thv-at-noon.com.